Hello and welcome to this edition of Let's Talk Law. I am Anusha Soni. A lot has been said about the Uniform Civil Code ever since the Prime Minister raised the issue while addressing a rally in the poll-bound state of Madhya Pradesh. Uniform Civil Code is part of Directive Principle of State Policy under Article 44 of the Indian Constitution. Article 44 that binds the state to make endeavours for an eventual implementation of UCC in India. But a mere mention of the word sends the world of politics into a tizzy. There's fear-mongering, misinformation and political distortion. Some political parties went to the extent of saying that Hindu law would now be applied to Muslims. Nothing can be further from the reality. Diversity and the freedom to practice one's religion are cited as the key grounds against the idea of a uniform civil code. While both these facets of India's democracy are protected broadly under the fundamental rights, it does make the idea of a UCC tricky to implement, but they are not the ultimate roadblocks to it. Well, here are the 5 myths or stereotypes around Uniform Civil Code that we bust. Number 1. Uniform Civil Code is not about how you pray, eat or dress. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they are lying. Many politicians will have you believe otherwise, but UCC will not infringe upon the right of any community or individual as to how they pray, eat or they dress. These are matters which are guarded under the right to privacy by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court under a constitution bench judgment. No law or code can prescribe a dress code for individuals in public life or what one chooses to eat or how they pray. The Uniform Civil Code is not about any of these facets. The Common Civil Code will not touch upon any of these aspects of an individual citizen's life. Let's come to the second point. Uniform Civil Code will adversely affect the cultural diversity of India. It's a myth. India is a vastly diverse country in terms of languages, food, customs, festival, clothes and much more. UCC will not affect celebration or observance of any of these festivals. It will not adversely affect any food tradition or the vast expanse of cultural diversity in India. Languages, food, clothes, local festivals, customary celebrations are not regulated in any manner or form by the Uniform Civil Code. Cultural diversity is an aspect of religious diversity in India. But divergent cultural practices are seen even within the same religion. For example, Hindu practices and customs in Gujarat are polar opposite to what Bengalis believe. The diversity has survived in the Hindu religion despite rationalization of personal laws and their codification. Let's come to the third aspect. Many people argue, many politicians argue that is this about the implementation of a Hindu law over the rest of the country? Well, there is no Hindu law that can be imposed on any community. There is no law of Manusmriti or any other Hindu religious law that can be imposed on any other community or individual. The Hindu personal law has been a subject of various reforms and amendments. Even the inheritance laws for the Hindus have been overhauled completely to give women a fair share in the ancestral property. No facets of the Hindu Code Bill can be applied to Muslims or any other community. The Indian Constitution guards against any such imposition. The Hindu Marriage Act is applicable only to Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs and Jains. It cannot be extended to any other community living in India. Any individual or group preaching that Uniform Civil Code shall implement the law of the majority on the minority community is spreading misinformation and falsehoods. Let's talk about the fourth aspect, and this is a rather very interesting one to talk about. A nikah, saat phere or a church wedding. Will they be dislodged by a Uniform Civil Code? The answer is no. In Western democracies, where there is no personal law and a common civil code governs all the citizens, customary practices or religious methods of conducting a wedding have not ceased to exist. These methods just do not have a legal sanction. So while you can have a nikah ceremony in London, you would mandatorily have to register your marriage for it to be legally recognized. The presence of a civil code is not the antithesis to religious ceremonies or customs. Despite the civil code, you can have the ceremony. But law will prescribe a method under which it shall be legally recognized. The religious practice is not forbidden, it's not barred. It just doesn't enjoy the legal sanction without the process of registration, especially in cases of marriage. Let's come to the last one. A secular country, quote unquote, cannot have a civil code. While most secular democracies have a common civil code that governs their country. No democratic country across the world has a parallel verse of personal laws like they exist in India. A Muslim or a Hindu continue to be true adherents of their religion and faith while they live in any other part of the democratic world. Sharia is not legally protected or enforced in any other democracy. Any kind of attempt to create a parallel legal system is rightly frowned upon in modern democracies. All modern democracies are secular in nature and they do not allow any kind of Sharia law or personal practices to be legally governed. Thank you for watching.